So Cairo is this whole brand new language which has all these other functions associated with it, which I'm not a developer, so I'm not the best person to ask about this. But the smart guys that I know swear by it, and they think it's really cool. But it gets rid of some of those constraints that the EVM has. And from a bunch of experimentation that the Realms guys did on all the other chains like Arbitrum, and they had a whole application built on Arbitrum. I think they had to scrap it, and they started building on Starknet. But they're saying that it just, for the amount of transactions that they would need for their type of game, for it to be a fun game that the community would actually like to play, that where you're not signing your wallet every single time you want to do anything in the game, they had to build it on Starknet to enable just that amount of activity and that level of gameplay. So they're really on the cutting edge of building this kind of stuff. There are very select few people doing it, and I mean, Realms has gone to Amsterdam and won competitions for us and hackathons for us, and these guys are really smart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Medallion Excellent Podcast. I'm here with special guest from the Loot First, RaulOnAStool. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And if you're watching this, make sure you like and subscribe. That way we can reach more people in this podcast. And Raul, you are our, let's see, we had banners, we had Aya of the Sea, and standard combo. So you're our fourth loot related guest, which is good because I love loot. I love the entire concept. I think the concept is very flexible, and we're gonna get a lot into it throughout the course of this conversation. So how you doing, Raul, on the stool?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're in the Loot First, and you've been one of the earliest members, community members of the Loot First. How's that going?
It's going well. I would say everybody's in the Loot First. Technically, it's very flat, it's open, it's permissionless, so anybody could be a part of it. I'm just a guy who now has a face. But yeah, it's going really well, man. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on in Loot. Every day, today Realms announced some cool stuff. Banners is working on a lot of cool stuff. We have our friend Tyler. He's working on FF Follies, really cool project. Loot MMO is kicking things off. I know you had Gabriel on last time. It's stuff is going on in behind the scenes, right? It seems like it's the middle of the crypto winter. It definitely is, but there's stuff happening. We're in a build-a-bear market right now.
Nice. Yeah, so one of the things I really like about the Loot First is I think this is like the complete embodiment of decentralization. Because in these type of NFT projects, you hear about decentralization a lot, and a lot of these projects aren't really, but I think the Loot First manages to figure out how to have like multiple projects going on that's loosely tied into the same concept, and everyone just kind of works on their own thing, but it's for like a singular purpose. And I think that's a tricky concept to figure out because I think the Loot First is pioneering that concept. How would you respond to that?
I would. It depends how crazy you want me to get. I have.
It's crazy.
So I think it's unique to the blockchain space. I think when Dom Hoffman released Loot, it was he was tapping into some very special qualities of Ethereum, where essentially he created the atomic level of an NFT. Like, how can I bring an NFT down to the lowest, lo-fi, most simple level, like an atom? So, yeah, I'm not. I don't want to get too like woo-woo or spiritual or anything, but essentially, the view of the universe that I have and that we've seen throughout the existence of everything is everything is both a whole and a part of a larger whole. So I see Loot in the very same way. I mean, think of how an atom by itself is an entity which has subparticles, and it's also part of a molecule. And then a molecule is made up of a bunch of atoms, but it's also part of a cell. The cell is part of an organ part of me, you know? So it kind of always has it's not, I don't want to call it a hierarchy, but almost like a natural hierarchical or holarchical existence, right? So Loot is that very base level of what an NFT could be, where it's just a black background with some white text on it and some metadata in the background and some code. And from that, it can transcend into something larger than itself, into a decentralized fantasy universe, if you will, which is its own little autonomous network of interconnected games, media, modules. We have Realms is making its own little like AMM or market maker, essentially.
What's the AMM?
Automated market maker. So it's kind of like having liquidity pools for resources in the Realms game. So instead of having a liquidity pool like Uniswap for different types of cryptocurrencies, they're making pretty much that for the different resources that they have within their game. And it's all open and composable, so other projects could take from it and learn and copy it for their own projects, or take data from it and build a marketplace. You know, whatever. You know, that's what's kind of special about the qualities of Ethereum, is this concept of composability, where, you know, actually, so the word Ethereum, Vitalik got it from kind of like the mythological Greek concept of ether, of things living in the ether being the realm of the gods, where, you know, the Zeus and the gods in Olympus up there could create anything in the ether. You know, it's a place for them to create. So Ethereum is a place for developers to create stuff. You know, it's the medium for them to make applications. And one of the things that makes it work is this concept of not only decentralization and this flat structure, but where anybody could participate, but also this ability for smart contracts or code to talk to each other, grab data from one another, and stack on top of each other. You know, in DeFi they call it money Legos, where you could have these crazy applications like Aave that act like autonomous banks that work automatically on code.
Yeah. So, money Legos, that's a good way to put it, because that really helps you to visualize the decentralized space. Because, like, you know, when you're playing with a Lego, there's all different colors, red, green, blue, and they're different shapes. And, you know, each Lego, it like serves its own function, but you can kind of like take it apart and build a car or build a house or build something else. You know, it's not predefined like what this piece is supposed to be. Like it's just kind of something that the user uses this particular tool to create like whatever concept that they have in mind. And yeah, like loot definitely is like that. And also the blockchain space is like that with these different tools like chain links that you can call as a smart contract to interact with, Aave, as you suggested, and all these other different, blockchain uh, blockchain smart contracts. So yeah, I think that's super interesting. And what I've always been interested in with loot is like the human aspect, because in my opinion, we're having like a pre-discussion about this. Like loot doesn't necessarily need technology to be a thing, to be a concept. Like loot as a concept, from my view, is like its own thing, and then it incorporates like blockchain, but it can incorporate anything to bring the concept into like its greatest form. And what I mean by that is like Cards Against Humanity, like just like each loot NFT is just text, and then the user interprets what that text means. That loot could be a card game, and you could have like a party and people can play and say, this is what this text means. And it could be encapsulated in that like small little household space. But when you add blockchain to it, you create this huge community around it. And now you have like these major projects. They all have different interpretations of what a particular text means. And they're adding their technology to, bring that text into fruition. And that to me is like its own thing. And that to me is like mind blowing if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. The people aspect and the identity aspect about NFT communities is, I think it's similar with things that we see in the real world, right? If let's say you're in a new environment, you go to a city for the first time, and you don't know anybody, you're gonna start looking for unconsciously people that are kind of like you. So maybe one of the things you might spot is someone wearing a jersey from your favorite sports team, and you're gonna be like, oh, that's someone in my tribe. I could go talk to them about something, that we have something in common, right? So that's kind of where we are right now in the blockchain space and on the internet and in the metaverse. Is we're all looking for our tribe. We're trying to find, okay, who can I relate with? Who are the friends that I can make right now? And NFT communities kind of help us with that. We can cut through the fat and say, okay, this community of people here have my interests and values. Now, unfortunately, sometimes those interests and values are, hey, I want the price to go up, right? Because I want to sell it to somebody else for more. But the good NFT communities align around, very specific interests and values. So for loot, a lot of people that resonated with it early on, it's people that are coming from the background of maybe they like fantasy stories like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, or maybe they play games like World of Warcraft or Diablo 3 or RuneScape. And it's this, at its base, it's just a seed for a fantasy MMO universe. Like you were saying, people could take that seed and they could turn it into a card game. They could turn it into a video game. They could turn it into a story, and that story could then turn into a TV series or a movie or, its own film franchise, and all of it came from this initial concept that was brought into the universe. And like you were saying, what makes the blockchain great is that it gives that idea provenance, right? So it existed, it came into existence at this time. It gives it proof that it's authentic, So if and you could trace the lineage of like where a derivative came from. Like let's say 50 years down the line, there's some TV show on Netflix of the future, and you would be able to trace down the line, like, hey, this came from such and such character that such and such username created back in 2023 or whatever. Let's say you wrote a story inspired by loot, and 50 years down the line, someone makes a movie about it. Like, you would be able to look back on the timeline and say, hey, that's my story. That's my character. You know, they drew from me.
And like another thing, like just building off what you're saying, let's say I did write a story about loot and I introduced a set of characters and a background and different things like that. Somebody else from the community can take my story and expand on different characters and different locations that I introduced in my story. And the thing about loot and the blockchain is that we can trace it back. Like it'll just be a branch off of like what I wrote. And then, like you were saying, you can trace it back to, okay, this is where it originated, and we can get definitions, and then it's like this huge tree or roots that just all go back to like a singular 100%. Type. And then we add the blockchain on top of that, which brings value and the ability to monetize. And it's very interesting. It's like kind of like it's like 200 IQ type of stuff.
It blows the doors wide open, man. It's because it's permissionless and because it's open. You don't need. So one of the things about even if let's say you wanted to create a movie yourself, like right now you can't just knock on Hollywood's door and be like, hey, I got this idea from the Loop project to make this set of characters into a movie. You can't really do that. And if you try, you'll get laughed at and kicked out. And if you try to build it on yourself, you won't be able to acquire the resources to do so, or it'll be very difficult. Whereas with the blockchain, you could really bootstrap your own project and say, hey, I want to make this just because I want to make this. It doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter that I don't have any previous film experience. I'm just the guy who wants to make this. And there's nobody to tell you no. It's wide open. So, yeah, you could absolutely do that.
Yeah. So one of my missions is I've been trying to bring more transparency with these podcasts, like talking to different projects and stuff, because blockchain and NFT projects gets a bad rep, right? So I've been trying to reach out to legitimate, journalists and introduce them to like these concepts, and they're like automatically like, oh, NFTs are a scam. And I'm trying to like explain to them like how layered like different these mechanisms are, because it takes us out of how we're trapped. Like, because in order for you to do anything creative, like on a mainstream level, you're going to need a lot of money, right? And the advent of blockchain allows us to, crowdfund that money, as opposed to go to like a bank and then take out a loan and then hope your project is successful so you can pay that loan, and then whatever like profit you make off of that is cool. Sometimes you don't even make profit, so now you you owe even more money, right? And blockchain and the communities and the different infrastructure that's been erected, like kind of solves all of that and kind of decentralize it from like a central, like old way of doing things to this new way of doing things, where you can have a vision, create hype around that vision, and then crowdsource and create a community, and we all just like work towards that vision.
So that's part of the problem that we're running into is that we're just so new, and there's going to be some growing pains. It's a very great vision that you're kind of laying out there of, and that I did also of how you can crowdsource based on your vision and your ideas or whatever. But there are bad actors at this early in the stage that are going to take advantage of that. And we're still in the middle of building those tools for how do you do that in a more efficient manner and a safer manner and a more secure manner. And those tools will come down the line. I don't think scams will go away forever. I'm still getting telemarketing scams, and it's the year 2023. It's always going to be hard this early on in any technology to prove people that think it's a scam that it's not a scam. So I think what we need to really do right now is hunker down with our community and focus on just building cool products that people want to use, and then the people will come. I don't think it's worth arguing. I think we put our money where our mouth is, and we just build cool-ish that people want to use.
Absolutely.
The way I think about it is like Ethereum is, or just the blockchain in general, is like this restaurant, and we have all these dishes that we're telling people we're going to serve, right? But we're still building the ovens. The refrigerator's still on order. We're just microwaving food right now and kind of like, hey, how do you like this sandwich that we made? But we still got the food prep area isn't fully done. But the developers, they're building all this stuff that's going to make this restaurant work. And what right now might seem like subpar technology to some, I think we're early adopters, and we're deciding the direction of what this blockchain restaurant is going to look like and what kind of dishes they're going to serve. But it's just like the internet, man. Like once people start coming in, people will start coming in once the applications that they want to use start being built. So it's just a matter of time, and I'm along for the ride. I'm just, maybe that's my personality type. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it'll all go to zero. We don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for the future of it. So I'm not too worried about the detractors and people that think it's all a scam. Like at first I debated with them, and now I'm just like, I'm just here to hang out with my friends and do nerdy stuff.
Absolutely. So, like, some of the things I want to highlight throughout this conversation is the different tools that are available right now. Like Gitcoin, for example, a lot of projects have been getting funded from Gitcoin, and I think Banners is one of them. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah. Gitcoin is they have a really cool. They're an open source community also, and they like to help out these efforts from people in the blockchain that want to build stuff and helping NFT communities by creating these investment pools for which they could, people could submit proposals that the community could then vote on and accept. So one of the projects that we got funded twice was Call the Banners. So Call the Banners is a game that happens within the Banners Discord, which is meant to, one, just be a fun activity, nothing to do with cryptocurrency or making money or trading NFTs, and then two, a way to reward people that are really engaged within the community. So one of the ways that you could promote growth in a project, or like organic growth and engagement from the community, is through giveaways. So we saw this a lot in the early days, and even still now, you see a lot. Hey, retweet this tweet, tag 3 of your friends, and you may win this giveaway. And I didn't like that. That just made me cringe. It made me really uncomfortable. Like, it's like, one, because it's not really attracting the right people. You're attracting people that want free stuff, which is everybody. Everybody just wants free stuff. That doesn't mean they're going to be engaged with the community. So one of the ideas that I came up with was, well, why don't we come up with a game where it's very simple, the rules are very easy, and the people that engage the most will get rewarded from it I'll explain the game in a little bit, but essentially we wanted to reward the people with the most engagement with the same giveaway as they would get with retweet and tag 3 friends. But first, hey, play this game. And we wanted to make sure that game was going to be really fun also. So the game it started off as just a bot, and currently it's just a bot on Discord. You can invite the bot onto your Discord, and the bot you can interact with the bot in a lot of different ways. But the general rule of the game is you have 2 sides, the North and the South. And each side has a general. So those are really the 2 main players, the only people that have to pick a side the generals, which are the first players that get selected in the game, and they're usually voted on by the community. So the goal of the game is that these two generals are trying to destroy each other's castle. Everybody else is a sword for hire. So the generals are given coin at the beginning of the game. Coin is this monopoly money, essentially. It's money that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any value. But essentially, the general is trying to get everybody else, either through DMs or messaging in a Discord or calling them in person, to join their team. They'll pay them coin, and all they have to do is attack the other side. Now, there's nothing forcing those other players from attacking whichever castle they want. So there's players that are gonna, trick the general of the south to give them money, but still fight for the north, and vice versa. We also see a lot of people that are just very passionate about either side. So you have the people that started off as northern soldiers and southern soldiers. They tend to stay on the same team, build like really tight knit families, and it's really cool to watch on the Discord how they interact, and everyone's talking like it's Game of Thrones, and it's role playing, it's people being social, it's community engagement, and it was so fun to watch. And so after that first game that we did, the Gitcoin round for, it really made me think, hey, we could use this money and make that game better. So I put out the proposal. We got funds. We improved the game. We added some graphical features, so you could actually see the castle, and you could see the castle like get on fire, like when you damage it. And there's some new game mechanics that were added. Also, some new graphics so you could see your own profile, like if it was an RPG game with your profile picture and how much gold coin you have or whatever. And then we just did the third version of Call to Banners in October of last year. And that was really successful. We had about our Discord went from like 300 people to 13,000 people like overnight, and we had like 4,000 active players. It was a really fun time. We gave away a Genesis adventurer to the top player, and so anyway, we won the second GitHub round.
What's adventure again? Could you let me know what Genesis adventure is?
Okay, yeah, sure. So a Genesis adventurer is one of the things when you look at the loot bags, there are some items that you're going to see on there that they belong to a certain order, right? So you'll have a Katana of Rage, Slippers of the Giants, or Divine Hood of the Fox, something like that, right? That of the blah 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 is something we call the order. So the theory that some people in the loot community came up with is that the original sets of full items that have the same order must have been what the bags look like for those initial adventurers, those Genesis adventurers. So a Genesis adventure is it's just a loot bag that has all items of the same order that was created by getting a bunch of other different loot holders that have these different items with the same order, and them bringing their bags together to pretty much, revive one of these Genesis adventurers and bring them to life, give them a name, etc. So that's what the Genesis Adventurers project is. You could talk to either Tim Shell or Loot Hero about that. It's a really cool project, and it's been around forever. That's one of those defining moments of the Loot universe was the Genesis Adventurers project. But yeah, anyway, we just gave one of those away in at the last Call to Banners game.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I just want to define terms as we go.
Of course.
Yeah.
So then the second round of from the loot round of the GitHub proposals, We won that one as well. And we were able to use those funds to start building what is now called the Banners 4. And what we're going to do with this one that's going to be special is we'll be integrating the Banners NFTs into the game also. So if you hold a NFT, or if you hold a Banner NFT that has, let's say, 3 weapons on it, you get an attack boost. So when you attack the castle, it does more damage. And there's some other bonuses information which we'll be releasing later on, and some more features that we'll be adding, and new game mechanics that we're really excited about, but we're not ready to announce just yet, but we will be very soon. I forgot where I was going with that point, but generally, this funding gave us the opportunity to continue iterating on the game, and even after CTB4 comes out, we'll continue to iterate on it even further. And with the same main principle behind all of it, which is we want to reward those community members that are engaged and that are actually happy to be part of the project, not just the ones that want free stuff. But yeah, that's where the game came from.
Yeah. So that's like one of the great things about, this space, and also the Loot project is just you started from, just like this basic concept, and then with the help of the community, you built it up to like what it is, and who knows what Call of the Banners like 10 is going to be. Probably be like a PS5 game, right? Because like I think Warhammer, it has kind of. Are you familiar with the Warhammer universe? Yes, Warhammer. Yeah, they have like a similar kind of trajectory where they started off as a board game, and then the community kind of kept building and building to the point where it has multiple PC games, and it has a first-person shooter, and it has a lot of similarities to Loot, like as far as like starting from an idea and just building up to like who knows what's
that's next. A very, 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 very good comparison. I think you're exactly right. And one of the cool things about that is the community kind of helped guide it in the kind of direction that they wanted. But Loot will give it even more freedom because there's no. I don't know how Warhammer works. I'm not sure if there's like a governing body of Warhammer that decides what the games are going to look like or that owns the IP. But I'm not sure. But that's the exact same concept that Loot is employing to create its own fantasy universe.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and the tools that are being built to support it. How much do you know about what Realms has been doing? Because I know they're like a huge mover in the Loot technology space. Like they have so much things going. Last I heard, they were working with Starknet. Like, do you have any updates on what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, they're on the cutting edge as far as Loot goes. As Loot project goes, they're on the cutting edge of gaming. What they're doing is incredible. They just released a paper today on kind of this new concept that they invented for blockchain games, which is kind of like this proof of labor type of thing that they're adding to their as a game mechanic for their Loot Eternum game. I don't know too much about it. I know enough about it. I know enough about the game, but as far as like all the updates and cool stuff that they're doing, like it's so next level and big brain. It's really cool, and the whole concept of going to layer 2 and building something on Starknet, which it's just so new for gaming in general, and kind of the different constraints that they have to deal with, and every choice that they made had a purpose. Every line of code, the language that they decided to write it in, like everything was purposeful, and they've been building this forever. And the Realms Eternum Alpha is coming soon. Those are the famous words in any NFT project. But I'm excited to see what those guys come up with because they're literally on the cutting edge of everything. This is next level stuff what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, last night I heard, and like I don't like stay super updated with everything, but definitely last I heard it was like kind of on chain like role playing game type of thing where like the tokens or the gold or whatever that you get is like a real cryptocurrency, but instead of every time you slay a dragon you have to like authorize that transaction on your MetaMask. Like apparently, like all of your on-chain activities, it happens throughout your session, and at the end of the session is when like all those like transactions are processed, which
Yes. Yeah.
is super.
So one of the things that makes Ethereum different from Bitcoin is that one is this so Ethereum just took Bitcoin and said, hey, what if you do what you're doing for a fungible token like Bitcoin and do it for literally everything else? And what that means is that there's different types of transactions on Ethereum that could happen. So when we're talking about transactions in a game, it's I would think of Realms Eternum, think of it like Age of Empires, right? So that's kind of exactly what they're doing. Let's say you want to build a building in Age of Empires or Clash of Clans, whatever game. So you build this building. Now you built this building. That building belongs to you. That's a transaction on the blockchain. You train this army. Now you have all these new characters. They pop up. They exist. Blam. They've been minted to the blockchain. You defeat this dragon, blah blah blah. That or this crypt. This crypt is unlocked. You took the rewards, blah blah blah. That's a transaction on the blockchain. So you move this character from here to there. This from this city to this city over here, and you attack their army. All of this stuff is transactions, which transactions on the Ethereum layer are really expensive because everybody's trying to get their transactions in there. So what layer 2 technologies allow you to do is to kind of put all those transactions, combine them into, do them off chain and just send back to the Ethereum layer kind of just a proof of their validity. So think about it like, so I use this analogy a lot. So let's say we're at a bar, right? And before the bartender could give you a drink, he has to check your ID to make sure that one, that's you on the ID, and two, you're of age to drink alcohol at the bar, right? So,
right.
But it's a decentralized chain, so you have to show the ID to every single person at the bar, and they have to all verify that you're of age to drink and that it's you. That's fine if it's just one or two people at the bar. You check all the IDs or whatever, you get the beer or whatever. But once that bar starts filling up, once more patrons start coming into the bar, they're gonna want to cut in line. They're gonna be like, hey, I'll pay you more if you check my ID first. It's like, well, I'll pay you more. So now that drink that would have cost you $5 is now going to cost you $100 to get in front of the line to just to buy a drink. So what a layer 2 solution is you add a bouncer at the front of the bar that checks the ID and lets you in. So the bartenders don't have to know anything about you. They just know that, hey, the bouncer checked you, you're of age, and that's you on the ID, so I could feed you, I could get you drinks. So that's all these on-chain layer 2 games are doing, is that they're doing all of these transactions that would happen within a game off-chain with funky math. They're able to prove the validity or whatever, and then tell the settlement layer, tell layer 1 Ethereum, hey, whatever, this happened, and this is the new state for this game or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that's all layer 2s, and I think specifically Starknet is more of a layer 2 for the type of ecosystem that the Lootverse is, which is more of like a gaming type of thing. Like, how would you respond to that? Because I think based on my conversation with Banners, like, I think because there's going to be so many transactions, like Starknet specifically doesn't want like transactions to go over like a certain amount. And that's why, like, instead of using Optimism or any of the other layer twos, like Starknet is like the preferred, the preferred layer two blockchain.
I mean, yeah, there's we could get into the technical stuff, but well, we don't have to get into the technical stuff. But essentially, there's different types of layer twos, right? So you have side chains like Polygon, which Polygon is a layer two technically, but not really, because it's just a side chain that's in parallel with Ethereum, essentially, that lets you use Ethereum apps. When I say side chain, I mean it's its own separate layer of physical computers, that create its own separate virtual computer on top that that acts in parallel with the Ethereum virtual machine. So that's one option for layer two. The other option for layer two is something called so like Optimism is an optimistic what's it called? Rollup, an optimistic rollup. So essentially, you settle things quickly, but there's a dispute period, right? So there's a period where someone could say, "Hey, I'm not sure this transaction over here is okay," and then there's a few days for like a human to actually go in and review it and check it, make sure that it's fine, and then either reject or accept the transaction. So that's why, like on an optimistic layer, mostly it's used for like DeFi applications, but you'll have like a period of however many days where you can't put money in and then automatically pull money out for like a quick trade, right? You have to let it settle for however many. I don't know if it's days or whatever. I'm not too familiar with that technology, but that's essentially it. Like there is a human component. There needs to be someone that not volunteers, but that gets rewarded to do the validation. So what Starknet does is that it gets rid of that human element, and it's like, well, we could do the same thing with math. And we have this other network of computers here that does some really cool, complex ZK zero-knowledge proofs and proves that something is valid and then sends it back to Ethereum. And Starknet is not the only zero-knowledge technology. It's you have ZK Sync, and I'm sure Polygon is doing its own zero-knowledge thing. But the difference with Starknet is that it doesn't have the limitations of the EVM. So Starknet is built using a language called Cairo, or Starknet applications, I should say. And so it's hard to put it without really describing how Ethereum works. But essentially, the EVM does have constraints. That's why you have like that's why we have gas, right? Because you don't want to. You don't want someone to be able to create like an infinite loop in Ethereum where they just keep they take advantage of the whole blockchain and just keep adding stuff to it or whatever. That's why the bigger the transaction is, the more expensive it is, right? There's gas associated with that transaction. Otherwise, one developer could decide to hog Ethereum and just build all the applications he wants. So that there's just limits. There's limits in solidity on kind of what you can build and how big it could be or whatever. So Cairo is this whole brand new language which has all these other functions associated with it, which I'm not a developer, so I'm not the best person to ask about this. But the smart guys that I know swear by it, and they think it's really cool. But it gets rid of some of those constraints that the EVM has. And from a bunch of experimentation that the Realms guys did on all the other chains like Arbitrum, and they had a whole application built on Arbitrum. I think they had to scrap it, and they started building on Starknet. But they're saying that it just, for the amount of transactions that they would need for their type of game, for it to be a fun game that the community would actually like to play, that where you're not signing your wallet every single time, you want to do anything in the game, they had to build it on Starknet to enable just that amount of activity and that level of gameplay. So they're really on the cutting edge of building this kind of stuff. there are very select few people doing it. And I mean, Realms has gone to Amsterdam and won competitions for us and hackathons for us. And, these guys are really smart. And, like I was saying, like what they're putting together is next level. And, as far as why they decided to go the Starknet route versus all these other different layer twos, they're the best ones to answer that question, but that's kind of the gist of how they got to their decision.
Very cool. Yeah, man. And are you familiar with like Square Enix?
I'm familiar with the company, yeah.
Yeah, the people who develop Final Fantasy, apparently, like they're all in on NFT gaming. Like they are all in, and a lot of the people who enjoy Square Enix games, they're kind of like they're really iffy about it. But it seems like Realms is going to be leading the way, and some major corporations, if they can figure it out, like will be like adopting everything that they do, because like they are all in on NFT gaming. They're building like multiple NFT games. I think they released one late last year. I didn't play it, but like it supposedly bombed, but they're all in. They don't care. like we don't care. We're just gonna just keep releasing NFT gaming because like they see that as like the future.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a spectrum of games, a spectrum of how on chain or how much blockchain games will have. Like I think it's just obvious. Games like Fortnite, games like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Madden, like they're going to have NFTs and cryptocurrency in them. But as far as do they need to be on-chain games like Starknet? I mean, like what Realms is building on Starknet? Not necessarily. I don't think. I think there's a place for it, and I think for some games it makes sense, and for some games it doesn't. I think we're going to start seeing games that only make sense because they're on the blockchain, and we're going to see games that are kind of like a hybrid of your standard game engine and standard console game, plus some NFTs and crypto.
For sure. So speaking of gaming, gaming adjacent is the metaverse, and like there's different layers of the metaverse, right? I got into this with standard combo, and we have like a definition or understanding of the metaverse, which is mostly like a synthetic reality. But standard combo is telling me like Discord is a level of the metaverse because of just the way people are able to interact with each other in a decentralized kind of way. So let's talk about the metaverse.
I think standard combo is absolutely right. So I think people are confusing two different things. There's metaverse, with a capital M, and then there's metaverse, like a virtual world, like Other Side, which with a lowercase m. So I think there's going to be a lot of different people are going to create their own little virtual worlds and virtual experiences. You're going to start seeing companies like Nike build these virtual stores that people could go in and try on these virtual shoes on their avatar or whatever. You're going to have Disney's going to build their own virtual world for experiences that their customers could have. It's similar to websites. I think when the internet came out, you started seeing all these companies come in, and at first nobody wanted to make a website. They're like, why would I want to put my stuff on the internet? And then people started putting their stuff on the internet, and they won market share that way. Think of it, how that's how Amazon was able to take on Walmart. They're like, oh, we'll do what you're doing, but we're going to build it on the internet. So, I mean, we're going to start seeing that, like people building small metaverses, essentially for their own brand, for their own company. Some of them are going to be game experiences. Some are going to be shopping experiences. Some are going to be educational. But when I think of metaverse, I think metaverse capital M as just being a sexy word for internet. right? It's just this is what the new internet is going to look like. So I'm not saying that we're going to be in headsets and we're going to be, in the virtual world all the time forever. I think what it means is there's going to be a blending of the our physical reality and then the digital reality, because we already have digital lives. We're in front of our phones like probably more often than we're not. So I think it's that reality it's going to blend a little more, and we're already starting to see it with things like augmented reality, Pokemon Go. You have these digital characters that show up in front of you, and you have friends getting together to go catch a Pokemon in a neighborhood park or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing, when I think metaverse, is just how are we seamlessly? How can we more seamlessly interact with the internet and with our information, with our data, right? So now we have things like Alexa or Siri, which voice assistants, where we could say, "Hey Alexa, what's the weather?" It'll give you the weather. Like that to me is part of what this new version of the internet is going to look like. We're going to be interacting with the digital world the same way we do with the physical world. Think of, in the physical world, I have to grab this glass of water, right, if I want to drink it. So once once virtual reality gets better and augmented reality gets better, I think that's going to be kind of how we deal with the real world. I think we're probably going to have some kind of headset, or maybe some glasses. Like, I know Apple is coming up with their own little AR glasses now, where you could pull up a map and you could just look at a map, or you could turn on a light by just pressing a button in thin air or whatever. And I think that's going to make the internet more intuitive for everybody to use. I think right now, my parents are a little older; they struggle with technology, and they won't be able to tell you how to go online and check their bank account or whatever. But with augmented reality and with virtual reality, it's going to be intuitive for them to just press a button or grab something, or anybody could use it, whether it's a child or an elderly person. I think we don't realize how complicated it is right now, and kind of just how used to we got to the technology. So like little keyboards and with our thumbs, like that's something our grandparents aren't really comfortable with, But hitting a Wii baseball with a Wii baseball bat, like that's something they understand, or Wii bowling, right? So that's kind of how I see the metaverse. It's just a more intuitive and easier way for us to use the internet and interact with data.
Yeah, there's these contact lenses called Mojo Vision.
Yep.
And pretty much like there are these augmented reality contact lenses that you just pop in, and you wear like this necklace around your neck. And I don't know how they do this, but like these thin ass contact lenses, they send a signal to this necklace, which is like where the computer is, and then you just interact with the whole world. You don't have to touch anything. Like it's called eye tracking. So like with the Quest, they have hand tracking where you do all that stuff. But with these contact lenses, you just like move your iris, and then you just like interact with the world. You don't even have to touch anything. It's pretty crazy. I think you should look it up if you have time.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty nuts. It's crazy. And to think like with Moore's law, things are going to get smaller and smaller to the point where your necklace, the little computer necklace, is going to turn into like a little computer earring. And eventually you don't even need any additional things. Like you just wear your little contact lenses and just interact with the world. And it's going to be like a whole new world. And another thing I'm interested in is like Neuralink, like Elon Musk. And I keep seeing these little TikToks where Elon Musk is teaching these monkeys how to like do all these advanced things with their brain. And like these monkeys are sitting around computers and typing and stuff. And like, yo, Planet of the Apes, right? Like instantly. But
I don't know how comfortable I feel with Elon Musk putting a brain chip in my skull, but yeah,
no,
I mean, there's definitely a lot of cool stuff in the horizon.
Like I would like if there was like maybe an earring. I put an earring in, and like my earring like somehow feeds the vibration of my brain, and it could just do stuff. That would be cool. But like, I'm not inserting like some computer chip in my skull.
You know how I see it starting? I think we're going to start seeing like bionic humans. So it's going to start with people that have disabilities. You know, maybe people that are vision impaired. You could put a chip in their brain, and now they could see. You know, or someone that can't. You know, someone that isn't. Maybe they're physically disabled. They're not able-bodied. You know, they could use the Neuralink to, you know, move a mouse around on the screen on a computer. You know, since they can't use their hands. And then what's going to happen is rich people are going to be like, well, also, I could pay extra money and it'll make me better, you know? And so that billionaires are going to start paying for like, no, put a chip in my brain. And then, you know, you'll start seeing these super bionic humans with, you know, ChatGPT in their brain installed, essentially, that they could just look up anything on the internet and just far out past like every other human. So then we're all gonna, you know, it's just gonna turn into this whole thing where a bunch of millionaires are paying to get their body computerized, and we're gonna have androids walking around. I don't literally think that's gonna happen, but that's how it's gonna start. It's gonna start off as a really nice tool for like people that are disabled, and then the rich people are gonna be like, well, no, give me some of that also.
Yeah, give me Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah. Have you played that game?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's totally gonna be that. Like people, like they replace their whole eyeballs and put like this crazy like electronic equipment and just into their skull. Like it's totally gonna be that. Like 100%. I'm gonna be like looking at my grandkids like, this is wild. You know, imagine like our grandparents right now. They're like looking at our phones, like the small little phones, and like, this is wild. I can't imagine like when we're grandparents, like what technology is going to be, because AI right now is crazy. Like ChatGPT, you know, I was just playing around with it earlier. I just built a whole app in like 6 minutes. Like, it was wild. Like I was like, I wonder how you build a video editor in React, which is like a JavaScript framework. So I just started looking it up and just boop. Just, okay, can you style it like Netflix? Boop. It's like, whoa, it's crazy.
Yeah, if you look at some of those like futuristic novels from back in the day, I mean, even movies like Back to the Future, we're pretty bad at predicting what the actual future is going to look like, because the growth is just so exponential. We're not really sure exactly which technology is going to emerge. So we could speculate, and that's fun to do, but I mean, who knows, man? Like the future is going to be, I don't know, but that's why I enjoy it so much. I enjoy the novelty of it. Like we're kind of living in it right now with blockchain and with AI. We're at the cutting edge. We're like front row of the roller coaster. We're watching it all happen right in front of us, and I'm along for the ride. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. And so there's like artificial intelligence, there's blockchain, there's the metaverse. Speaking of the metaverse, is there any? Do you have like a VR headset? Are you playing any VR games? No,
man. I can't bring myself to do it. I don't really want to put this big bulky thing on my head and just play games. I feel like an idiot. I love watching the videos of people doing it online. I just saw one of there was this little kid. He was playing some like punching game or whatever, and his sister walks in the room and he punches his sister in the face.
She needs to stay out.
Yeah, exactly.
Family knows that when I'm in the metaverse, like I'm in the metaverse space. Like stay away from me in my metaverse space. All right. But like you're not really missing out on anything. Like it's just ramping up. So there's not too many good games on there. There's one called Super Hot. I would recommend that. It's a really good game. Especially for the VR space. And there's some like, I'll tell you the pros and cons, right? Like the cons is definitely the size of the headset. That's definitely a drawback. But the Quest 2 it's not that bad. It's really light. It's really comfortable. It is kind of bulky, but I think in future iterations they'll get that size down. But the drawbacks are there's not enough content. There's not enough cool content. Like, like some of the games I play it, and then I'm like, okay, it's over. Like, I'm just like, there's so much more. Like, I want more out of it, right? But
you know what I see VR, like VR headsets in general. So I'm more of a fan of AR. I think augmented reality is the future. I think augmented reality is going to replace cell phones and laptops, and virtual reality is going to be more like your home desktop or like the computers that you have at a school. Those you use it for purposes like either it's educational for like you'll probably kids in the future are going to be using VR for doing activities in the classroom. I see it for things. Actually, one of the cooler things that they're doing with VR that I've been looking into is therapy. A lot of people that are dealing with things like PTSD, they're able to respond better to therapists when you put them in these virtual environments. Because they feel like they're out of body, they're out of self, and it makes it easier for them to talk to their therapist and really deal with some of the traumas that they're dealing with. And so that research I'm really excited about, and I like looking into that kind of stuff. But I don't see myself as walking around my daily life 10, 15 years from now using a virtual reality headset. But we'll see. I could be wrong.
Well, they're going to get smaller. Like right now, they're huge and bulky. Like in probably the end of the decade, they're going to be like it's glasses size. Like I would say, because technology is like it's moving so fast. And I think one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg did when he changed like Facebook into Meta, like that's all he had to do. Like he created this entire new industry, and there's like this huge race now to like be number one because everyone knows it's going to be huge at some point. Might not be huge now, but it's going to be huge at some point. You want to be the next Facebook pretty much, right? You want to out Meta. So yeah, there's this huge space race going on in the VR community, and especially with like AR, like taking off the way it is, like OpenAI, they're doing such a good job. Like before it was DeepMind, they used to be like the kings of AI, but now OpenAI is just like releasing these accessible like AI models, and people are just like, there's so many use cases. Like DALL-E 2, you create images out of thin air, like just whatever. Like Whisper is one of them. Any language, it'll decode the language. It'll decode the language. What else they have? They have ChatGPT. We're familiar with that, and they have Pointy. So now, like in the metaverse world, you put your little VR headset on, and you could generate like 3D objects just like you generate in DALL-E 2. So it's crazy the amount of stuff that OpenAI is releasing.
That's going to be fascinating when you give the power of a developer to non-developers. That's what AI can enable. So we're going to see web applications like we've never seen before. We're going to see 3D worlds like we've never seen before, because now you're giving these coding tools to people that don't have coding skills, but hey, they do have artistic skills. So what does that going to look like? I'm excited for that for sure. 100%.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because I've been trying to learn Blender because of the whole metaverse thing. I'm trying to position myself to benefit off of it. But man, it's like a whole different part of your brain that you got to use.
Right. So, if you're not used to using that part of your brain, but you could tell an AI, "Hey, build such and such 3D object for me," and then you can build the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so glad that I'm like I'm not super old at this moment in time, because like I could really enjoy it and kind of understand what's happening, as well as like kind of visualize the trajectory of where all this is going. Because we have.
I'll tell you one thing though, man. To your earlier point, I hope Meta does not win the space race, because I think, like I was saying earlier, the metaverse is just it's just the internet. It's just the new iteration of the internet. And I think, me personally, I'm of the ethos that the internet belongs to its users, not to one company. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of a company like Meta kind of being Big Brother, and they control the space. I think it should be. I think it should be controlled by the cyber citizens.
No, I totally agree. 100% agree. But like the monetary injection that they're doing, like it's billions and billions and billions of dollars in research, like that's super beneficial to the entire space. And I don't know if you've heard of NVIDIA's Omniverse. I think that's the best metaverse right now. It's pretty much this digital world that you can go into. You can access it from your computer or access it from a virtual reality type of thing, and you could just go create stuff like just right now. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think right now, if I was to like say who's winning the metaverse race, NVIDIA is winning the metaverse race, and they're known for their graphic cards, so obviously their graphics are way better than Horizon's, which is Meta's virtual world. But it's all interesting, man. It's all interesting. I'm just excited about all these innovations happening.
Yeah. We're like I said, we're in the front row of that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right now we're at that down point. But
yeah. I like when the market is down. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I like when the market is down, because then there's not so much hype. There's not so much just craziness. It's always crazy when Bitcoin is going up and it's going 10,000 at a time. It's always crazy. The news is super hyping everything up, and it's hard to figure out what's actually going on. But when the market is down, you know who the real players are, you know what the innovations are, and you can appreciate the technology a lot more. But when the market starts going up, it's going to be crazy to try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, man, and I encourage anybody and everybody that even if you don't think you have the development skills or the art skills to be in this revolution that we're seeing right now, get involved, start learning about it, and figure out how to find your place within it. Because when this rocket ship takes off, you want to be on it, and whether you start creating content or making videos on TikTok, or let's say if you don't know how to develop anything, you don't know how to draw anything, you could still become a YouTube personality or a podcaster. And right now, this bear market, this is when you want to start doing that and really start to understand the space. It'll give you a leg up on everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, RaulOnAStool, thanks for joining our podcast. We like to give our guests the last word. Is there anything you want to promote?
I want to promote a happy life and having fun and making friends. That's all, man. I think I said everything I wanted to say. Appreciate it.
For sure.